Hey, welcome to the Faith and Life podcast. My name is Mike Weaver, pastor at St. Luke,
And I am Greg Osborne, the student pastor here at St. Luke.
and we are talking about faith and life exactly as the title says.
We don't
Amazing.
stray. We,
We
we
don't,
do stray. I was going to say we stray from the topic a lot. So,
yeah, we do. Yeah. But we start out with these
with
questions
life, we start out with life
with
questions.
life, exactly. So we might call this life and faith. No, faith and
No,
life.
it works. Faith and life works. So we'll
It
we'll
does.
stick with it. Don't change something, fix something that's not broken. So
Nope, nope, nope. All right, so here's a question about life. Actually, I don't have a question. You have a question for our thoughts about
yeah.
conversation starters?
Let's see. Okay, if you could only watch one TV show the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
Um, oh, that's a tough one because I immediately two or three pop up in my brain, and I have to pick one.
All right, you want me to go then? I'll let you think.
Go ahead. Yeah, you go right
Okay.
ahead.
So mine isn't easy. Mine's The Office. It
Oh yeah.
is
Mhm.
uh it's comfort for me. And I say that because I'm looking at, on my DVDs and things on the wall across on the other side of here. And so that's why it came to me. But it is I've something I find myself revisiting often. When I'm like, I don't know what to watch, I don't know what to do. I put on an episode and there's a comfort, there's a familiarity to it. It gives me laughter, it gives me joy, it gives me frustration sometimes when I'm like, oh, I don't like this character. Why are they in this? So like there's a lot. I would say like it's a top tier show that in my world. Are there a lot better? Are there better shows out there? Sure, but is it doesn't mean I wouldn't want to necessarily watch it all the time, right? Like where I feel like The Office, I can relate to characters, I can laugh, I can get emotional, and I'm gonna like it is like I can watch the wedding scene in The Office 12 different times and I still am like, oh my goodness, let's go. Like I know it's gonna happen and I'm still like I still get like all like, oh, this is good. I'm like, who's cutting onions in here, right? Like so it gets the job done for the feel. So
So that's the Jim and Pam wedding.
yeah. But
So I
even
thought,
even the end wedding with Dwight and Angela, like, there's moments in that where I was
oh,
like,
yeah.
oh. So
So you're saying you go from every season
every
of
season, I know there are people that quit after Michael, but you miss out on so many glorious moments still. Is it as good as it was when Steve Carell was there with Michael? No. Are there still some amazing moments that like you would miss and not get to appreciate if you don't? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I give you that. I thought you're going to cry at Michael Scott's character when he comes in to the wedding with the pushing the father.
Yes.
It's hilarious. So
Yes.
COVID. So my show would be Seinfeld. Seinfeld,
Okay.
hands down, would be it. I have watched every season and every episode of Seinfeld many, many, many times, and they never get old. For me, they never do. I love Kramer. I love his just the uniqueness that Kramer brings to the world. Um, I don't ever want to be like any of those characters because
They're not great people.
they're not great people at all. They are not, and that's the beauty of them as well. Their flawedness of and their selfishness, which is it's just fun to watch. Um, and their interactions with the world and each other. I just think it's hilarious. It's not like I have life lessons from Seinfeld. I don't, but it's just stupid fun that I just enjoy every time I watch.
See?
Every
There
time.
you, there you go. So we both went the comedy route.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I could quote Kramer. I can quote Jerry. I mean, this becomes so part of our culture and so part of who we
Right?
are. Right.
I know now I want some Kenny Rogers fried chicken now, all of a sudden. But like I think there was part of like there's longevity, right? There's 9 seasons of
Yeah.
The Office. What was there, 9 seasons of Seinfeld?
Probably, yeah, something like that.
Close. So like so there is like there's a lot there too. So like there are some really good shows, but they're only like a season or two, and you're gonna be like, okay.
Yeah. That's so funny that Kramer, when he opens the door of Jerry's apartment, that red light from
Just
the neon light, he gets pulled back like this. Oh my gosh. Hilarious. All right. So today we're talking about friendship in a digital age. And boy, that's a really timely thing. And I'm just pulling up a couple questions from my phone here.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, you know, Chat GPT or any AI right now, people are using it as a friend. And AI can talk to us like a friend talks to a friend,
Mm,
right? Just the language AI uses sometimes, and we can get fooled into thinking that AI is a friend. But what is a friend? It begs the question, what is a friend?
yeah.
And is it possible to have a friendship, maintain friendships, and sustain friendships in a digital age?
Yeah.
I think it is. It just creates more challenge. AI and friendship, that's a different conversation that could be part of this conversation, which I have some thoughts on. But
Yeah.
those are my initial thoughts, just out of the gate. What are your thoughts about?
No, I think the way we move, we're moving as a world. We are very much more digitally based, um, and I think there's value in digital friendships. You can have friendships across the world, across the country that you would not have if we did not have platforms like Zoom and YouTube and FaceTime and things like that, where you can still be in connection. You miss out on things, obviously, and I will say all those things that I talked about, I mentioned right there, are all video platforming. So I think there's a higher up level of like digital friendship when you can get to videoing rather than just texting and script based messaging, because at least with video you can still see facial expressions, you can still see sense when people are pausing, and you have that a little bit. Then it's easier to read and see and engage and feel connected than if you're just sending a Facebook message or an email or a text. And so I think there's levels of that too, of the connectiveness of that.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. Like AI, that's a whole nother ballpark. But like when you're connecting with real people digitally, I think it is allowed. Technology has allowed us to have those moments and walk like that. So
I think what a digital friendship and maintaining friendships on a digital basis in the various ways you said, uh, is it's a way to maintain and it can grow. But I think what happens in those, my experience has been there's what happens is it creates a yearning for physical presence
yes,
of each other, right? And it's a good means, but it always feels like it has to end in being together,
yeah,
at least at some point, in the same room physically with each other, or that group, whatever that group is, because then it takes it, and then it feels much different when you're physically in the same room with somebody. I grew up in the world where, this is before texting and
hmm,
emails, that kind of stuff. And when I was a kid, people go, "Can you get a pen pal across the country or around the world?" And you'd have to write letters
yeah,
to people, and you would never see that person in Germany who is the same age, and it's a friendship for a while, but in the end, it's just a pen pal, and not to shortchange the friendship, but it doesn't unless the two people meet.
mm,
It really lacks the depth that I think is really powerful for really great friends.
yeah. I think there's levels to that as well, right? Because I think when we talk about this idea of digital friendships and things like that, of because you can get into it from a spiritual side basis too, but just isn't just like in general of technology has allowed us to have opportunities to find people across the world that are and interact with them that have the same shared passions as us, right? And things like that. So I think what it then does create, and it shows you the importance of being together, because like you yearn for, like, I can't wait till we get to hang out in person, like it'll be so much
Yep.
fun, like it'll be cool. And when you get those moments, it is special. And then you go back to your digital life, and then you go, we can't wait till we hang out in person again. So it's one of those, like, it's great for those relationships where you can only be in person every once a year or something because of distance and travel and things like that, right? Like, um, but we're lucky that we have that. You know, I have a brother who lives in London, England. I don't
Yep.
get to see him in person or my nephew and niece very often. But like when we do, it's great because we still talk, we still video chat, we still know what's going on in each other's lives. And then we do yearn for those times. Like my kids are bouncing off the wall. Can't wait till their uncle and aunt and cousins are coming in for Christmas this year, you know, because they're flying over. And so like to be together, I think that it builds itself too. You can have those relationships without it, but you still do. You'd probably desire those moments and because what that does is then strengthens it even more that you have when you are just in digital.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, I mean, my family's all scattered around and we don't see each other physically. We once a year around Christmas, and it's a good day. It's a good thing to hang around each other for a day. And but then the rest of the year is not that way. So yeah, there is that yearning and that appreciation to be in the same room. I thought that's how God is.
Mm,
The narrative of God's relationship with humanity from creation until this very moment is incarnational, like in the present moment. God comes to us in the flesh and walks among us in the flesh. Before that, it was centuries of God in a spiritual relationship with his people and this yearning for the coming of Messiah to be in the flesh, to God in the flesh. And that's what's humanity's story, at least the people of Israel's story for centuries. And then Jesus comes along and he says, "Oh, no, I call you friends." And now that friendship with God deepens, strengthens, accelerates because of the enfleshment, the physical nature of God, and then coming into our lives to make us his friends.
yeah.
And that's incredible. And then we just now, in the 21st century, we still yearn for again the physical presence of God in the flesh in the second coming. We yearn for that. But right now we're in this kind of a digital quote unquote relationship with our Lord through prayer,
Yeah.
through the word, through the sacrament. God is
Sometimes through live stream like
like,
church, right? Like sometimes
yeah,
we literally
exactly.
are experiencing it in church.
Totally.
And I get it oftentimes of people go, we experienced that in COVID when we were very digital for, not in person for a long time. Now we were doing outdoor services and things like that eventually because we as we saw that in 2020. We saw that we are humans. We're wired. Created to have physical, personal connections with people, right? Like, and there's a craving. Now, I think there is that digital aspect is a very nice benefit for those that can't come to church, can still get to experience church, still get to see some of their church family from a distance. Like, I think it can be, but I don't think it should be a replacement for in-person stuff. But you can still have healthy digital relationships as well. So
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yep, absolutely. Let's think about AI for a second and friendship. I brought that up at the very beginning that AI can mimic friendships,
mhm,
but it's like have me saying I have a friendship with my dog, right? I do have a friendship with my dog, but it's one way. Well, it's not just one way. Um, it's not equal reciprocity. In other words, a dog can't do for me what I can do for a dog.
right.
And AI can only do so much for me. And hey, look, I don't mind AI. AI has a benefit and there's value to it. But when we start talking about it being a friend, or we start confessing things as if AI has can do it, I don't know. It's a really difficult place for me to be as far as AI as a friend.
Well,
And there's one instance I'll get to in a second. But what are your thoughts initially? Just
well, I think the problem initially is with AI is it's going it's going to cater to what you want and what your desires are. Like ideally, I think for the most part, AI like there isn't a you can't replicate the human thought, like, and human emotion and human feeling. You can try, and AI does, but there comes a point like when you take out empathy and you take out emotion, I think there's a disconnect then. And what you're doing is, you're only feeding your AI is feeding a need or a thing that you feel, right? Like that is necessary. I just read The Anxious Generation. I mentioned that book, and we're going to do a book study and what it's talking about with technology and what it's doing, and how there are people that are like holed up now in their apartment because they get all their needs met between AI and online, and it's just like it's not when you take out human emotion and empathy. I think it's you're going to always be missing something. There's going to be that piece of the something that you always still desire.
Yeah, I absolutely right. I think, and I would add to that list, authenticity,
Yeah.
um, a real authentic compassion we feel from a friend
Hmm.
that knows us and just could offer from their heart a, a word of encouragement or whatever that is. But also what's missing in AI and can be missing from digital friends if it just stays the way it is, a digital friend, is sacrifice. Like Jesus said, greater love has no one than this, that he lays down his life for his friends.
Yeah.
Jesus had to physically lay down his life. And that physical laying down of his life for his friends shows the true depth of friendship, right? And that commitment and that great love in sacrificing himself for us.
Yeah.
I last week on Friday we were studying Second Corinthians, our men's Bible study, and there's a phrase in there that reminded me of that. It says, um, Paul says to the people, I do not say this to condemn you, for I said before that you are in our hearts to die together and to live together. And only friends who know each other, who've been in the same room, who know each other deeply, Paul incarnating the gospel, living this life with these Christians, saying, we're here to die for you and live for you.
Yeah.
That is a depth of friendship that how much I love my dog and how much I value AI, they will never do. They
Yeah.
can't do that. Only a friend can do that and live
Yeah.
that way.
And I think you can. I think to go back to the earlier, of the digital, I think that is where that is important with like the digital friendship, because you still can have that, right? You're still going to long for those moments where you interact in person. Um, but there's so much that you can still add on to it. Like, it's funny having this whole conversation, right? Because behind me, I have all these comic books. I love comics, and there's not a lot of people around in St. Luke and that are in the same stuff I like, right? So, and we mentioned that at catechism one time, and kids like, you read comic books, like, oh, and so I have a lot of friends online who are in the comic books, and like we talk, we you video chat and have the conversations on YouTube and things like that, or in person, and there's some that I had never met, and we've had relationships for 4 or 5 years. I mean, my wife and I flew out to Portland last spring to go to a funeral of a friend who we had never met in person.
Mm.
But we had so many weekly interactions talking and online friends. My wife and I booked an Airbnb with four other couples that we had never met in person, and went to this friend's funeral. And like it was one of the, but like all those things that we're talking about of like when we got to see each other in person, there was like, oh hey, and there was this like
Yeah.
sense of but like there is the ability to have those relationships and those impacts because of technology. And I
Yeah.
think that's why it's important though of those still are relationships though, that like the spiritual aspect, the empathy aspect that AI and your dog or your pet can't necessarily give back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Good. That's an amazing story. It's right. It's so good, that story, of seeing each other in person and the depth that happens with that.
Yeah.
So Hey, and as we're talking about digital, here we are digitally talking to each other.
Right.
So thanks be to
Because we
God.
couldn't be in the room today
We couldn't.
in
Yeah.
person. We're like, let's just do it digitally. And you're
Yeah.
listening to this or watching this digitally. So
Yeah. So thanks be to God for technology and the digital world we're in. That's amazing. It just sometimes doesn't replace being physically with somebody.
well, and I think that's where it gets down to, right? I think it gets down to the point of, it can't be the end all be all replacement, right? Like, yeah, you can have some of those digital friendships and things, but you still need, even if you have a digital friendship that you never meet in person, you still need to have human friendships and connections in person and have that. And just like, yeah, you can have these conversations on faith and life and hear them digitally, but to sit across a coffee hop table and
Yeah.
talk about a scripture verse with somebody, I think they're companion pieces alongside it, and that we need it all as well.
Yep. That's amen. Well said. Hey, appreciate you. Thanks for everybody for listening,
Mhm.
and we'll talk again next week.
See?